Hi, welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm CJ.
And I'm Chip.
And we're both in $2 bags. As you can tell, we're going to be talking about trash. So we're going to do some trash talking here on Straight Talk today. And it should be rather interesting to see what we have to say. And hopefully you'll listen to it and understand, because we have a lot of information. And it's all fresh, new, and exciting. So let's start right away with our city budget, which was released last Friday. And we started looking at it. I know I've reviewed it a little bit, and we'll be going to be talking about it in detail starting in our next show. But it's another budget of holes, worse than Swiss cheese, and it's predicated on being sure that we get this pay-as-you-throw money. The entire budget is predicated on that. And that's kind of a scary thought because that's not something that's guaranteed. It's not something we can say we have already. And we're also funding a private enterprise for this. And I think it's wrong. We don't have a city ordinance governing this. We don't have a city ordinance governing the fines, yet we're being told, if you don't do it, we're going to fine you. To quote Kathy Ann Viveris, we will go through your trash. We will find the people who are not complying, and we will find both the tenant and the landlord, just like that. I don't know where she grew a set from, but all of a sudden, the powers that be think they have the powers that be.
Well, it seems that everything we do in this city is always a threat. We have the threat of the state coming down to take over the water department. We're always being threatened with some catastrophe, and now the threat is that we're going to be fined. You know, this is not the way to do business. You know, it's going to be a difficult enough transition for people to do something that we really shouldn't have to do, and that's go to pay as you throw. And I'm going to quote from an article in the Herald News, May 29th, by Joe Good, that addressed the fact that the mayor was adamantly opposed at one time to pay as you throw. And this is a quote, as the fiscal climate has changed, our priorities have to change, unquote, said Flanagan during a Herald News editorial board meeting on Thursday. Well, Mr. Mayor, the reason that the fiscal climate has changed is because of you. You've done absolutely nothing to control spending. You've done absolutely nothing except give more pay raises, give out contracts when you knew the budget was not sustainable, and it's your fault. And this budget is like a juggler standing on a tennis ball with one foot, because it's so precarious that if this doesn't go forward, which it very well may not when we get into what the ABC options are, our budget is going to collapse again, and the city will ultimately collapse.
Yes, you know, the city has said that the bags that are going to be available are in 3 different sizes. An 8-gallon bag will go for 75 cents. A 15-gallon bag will go for $1.25, and a 30-gallon bag will go for $2. Now, there's nothing in ordinance that governs these fees. There's nothing that says the mayor can't choose to raise these fees next time he has a budget shortfall. That's one of the big problems a lot of people have. Another big problem is the fact that landlords and tenants will be fined $100 for the first offense, $200 for the second, and $300 for the third. So I went and investigated local companies that do trash removal. And there are several in our area. And the best price I found was a company that was trying for a privatization of DCM's trash collection, and they charge $24 per unit per month. Now, a unit is one of the city's green barrels, which is 96 gallons. Now, a 96-gallon barrel holds 3 large bags and 1 small bag. That's $6.75 a week if you fill it each week. Times 4 weeks, when we should actually do 4.3, but for the sake of argument, we're going to do 4. For 4 weeks, that's $27. That's $3 more than ABC. The other thing is, the city pays you throw requires you to be sure that you remove all your recyclables and put them in the recycling bin. ABC does not require that, and the reason they don't require it is not because they don't recycle. It's because they have a facility that they built and have invested a lot of money in to sort out of the solid waste trash that they bring in, the solid waste item, which gets disposed of in a landfill or incinerated, the recyclables, and the organic matter. That's wasted food. And they all get sorted out so they're properly disposed of. Organic matter goes into composting, et cetera, et cetera. The recycling goes in. They have a 95 to 97% success rate in recovering all the recyclables. That's pretty good. I think that's even better than our city. So again, it saves you that problem. And it also saves you the issue of getting fined, because ABC Disposal isn't going to fine you. Now, I've spoken with Mr. Balboni, I believe is how you say his name, and getting this information, and I have since spoken to his offices. And the funny thing is that many Fall River property owners are calling them to contract for services. Now, when the administration was asked, what happens if 5 to 10% of the money you're expecting does not come in? What happens to your budget? The program's not sustainable. That's why they can't give low-income people or seniors free bags like every other community surrounding us does. They have programs for low-income and seniors. Fall River will not. Other communities have a holiday. At Christmas time, as long as you throw out one page of throw bag, you can throw all the other Christmas wrapping and boxes and everything else without worrying about it. You get the one holiday a year. Fall River doesn't have that. And people are already saying, I'd rather pay $24 per unit than pay $300 in fines or $100 in fines. As a matter of fact, on WSAR radio, Ken Pacheco, the director of DCM, clearly stated that if he finds this is a problem in the properties he owns, he will privatize his trash collection. Now, when the program director, when the director of DCM says he may privatize his own trash, that says something to the people of Fall River. What would you do if your director of trash collection said, I'm going to privatize my trash?
Well, it's pretty obvious this is a very poorly thought out program. Now, number one, we don't know how much they're planning on generating from fines. And I think if they begin to see the revenue getting short, they're going to be attempting to look for any little thing to put a fine on. And that's something that people are just not going to be happy with. And the fact is there's no mechanism to control it. If someone that doesn't live on one of your properties or on your property dumps something in your barrel, you're responsible. They're going to get the enforcement is predicated on securing a $100,000 grant.
Again, money we don't have.
Money we don't have. Money we don't have. Again, now, when we get that grant, what's going to happen? City Administrator Kathy Anveris said these people are going to knock on your door and fine you. Well, we have places in the city of Fall River that the police officers won't walk in and knock on the door without backup.
Well,
so how are we going to do this? Everything we do is nothing more than smoke and mirrors. As a matter of fact, in this article, I'll go back to this article again from the Herald. It said Mayor Flanagan plans on funding 33 firefighter positions. Well, that's an absolute lie, because they're going to 175 and there's 153 supposedly on the department. Well, guess what? Last time I checked, 153 and 22 is 175, not 33. What he's doing is he's counting the 11 positions that he eliminated that were funded by the city in last year's budget. Again, all they do is play with numbers. It's smoke and mirrors. They're justifying it while the law department gets pay raises. Now we have the Christine DiOrio is now making $81,000.
I noticed.
She's been working for the city 2 or 3 years. She was hired at twice the going rate for someone out of law school, and now she's up to $81,000. She's making about $2,000 less than the assistant corporation counsel who's been there forever. So, I mean, we just spend money, and then they talk about generating money to tax our way out of their fiscal irresponsibility. And he also made a really great statement. He said, when you're buying trash bags now, this is a quote, you're buying trash right now, that money is going to corporate America who produced the bag. This money is staying in the community. Well, I guess the company they're buying the trash bags manufacture them for free, Waste Zero?
No,
I mean, they're not a corporation?
Well, actually, no. Waste Zero gets 30 cents per bag.
Well, wait a minute, that's impossible. The mayor said it's going to the community. It's not going to corporate America.
Waste Zero gets 30 cents per bag. And wait, something that's not in that article. Our school department has to pay for bags. All our departments, DCM, Water Department, the Health Department, Parks Department, they all have to pay for bags to get rid of their trash. Now, how do you tax yourself? How do you take money out of your own budget to pay for your trash removal? And actually, what we're doing is we're taking the bags out and we're giving 30 cents on every bag to Waste Zero. So we're funding out of city money a private corporation.
Well, that can't be true, CJ, because the mayor said, just as he said that the rainwater fee was illegal, just as he said he was adamantly opposed to pay as you throw, and just as he said he's funding 33 positions, he's saying that we're not funding corporate America. But in fact, what we're doing is we're overfunding corporate America because he's charging all the departments for the bags. So the fact is it's a wash. It's like you're paying for your own water. It's like paying yourself rent and then paying your mortgage. What have you really done? You took an extra step? You want to write it out as another liability? No, it's another budget scam that we'll go over in depth when we break down the budget. But the fact is, this program, all it does is burden the taxpayers again. It's a hidden tax. Make no mistake about this, people. This is a hidden tax, and it's the most insidious kind of tax. It's the tax that you can't claim on your tax return, because you are now being taxed, and I think someone did a rough estimate. This is a 3.5% increase for people, which is even greater than the 2.5% under the law that they're raising your property taxes. I spoke to an individual who is going to raise his rents, and he's tried to keep his rents down because he has good tenants. But he said he can't take it anymore. His property taxes are going up. His water rates are going up. He's going to pay as you throw. And then he's going to probably get fined because somebody's 5-year-old stuck something in the trash and they couldn't find it. And we've got the Gestapo digging through our trash looking for a cup.
It's true, and we already have people putting signs up in the city that say, Germany 1941, watch out for the trash Nazis. No pay as you throw. And we say to ourselves, why do we do this? Now, I did a show yesterday for one of our sister shows with Troy City Productions, and it was Neighborhood News. And with John Sylvia and Carlos Caesar, they both support pay as you throw. And I understand their rationale behind it because they both support it, because for years we've had free trash removal and nobody has really taken up the recycling effort the way they should. And Carlos says he throws out a week one small bag, which would probably be a 75-cent bag. And John said about the same thing. He said that he and his wife throw out maybe one small or one medium bag. So that's $1.25. So for them, financially, that's fine. They don't need to pay $24 or $27 a month to get rid of their trash. But John has tenants in another one of his buildings, and he says he's going to stay on top of his tenants to make sure they comply with this regulation because he supports it. And I firmly believe that people in Fall River would support this if it was done properly. If it was done properly and there wasn't no intrusion into their privacy, if there was no intrusion into their homes, if the rules were clean cut, if the regulations were set up in the ordinance so that they just couldn't change willy-nilly, to have a pun. And because at this point, next year, the mayor finds out we're $7 million in the hole. The bag price goes up to $4. What's to prevent that from happening? Nothing, because there's no ordinance. And I don't think that's right, and I don't think it's fair.
Well, it's business as usual in Fall River. It's screw up the way you run the water department and then penalize the taxpayers and say, look, if you don't pay, The state's going to take it over. You know something? Let the state take it over. Tell the mayor to make the pay cuts, and let's blame the mayor because he's responsible for the pay cuts. I'm tired of them trying to tax and spend their way out of their fiscal irresponsibility. And I don't see any cuts in the law department. I don't see any cuts of any substantial nature. There's no attempt to tighten their belts. You and I have to tighten our belts. If we don't have enough money, we can't buy something. It's that simple. Would I like a new car? Yeah. Would I like a Ferrari? Even better. But the fact is, can I afford it? No. I can't just go out and spend money I don't have. But the mayor of the city of Fall River has been spending money he doesn't have since he got into office. And this is the reason we're in the fiscal mess we're in right now. There's absolutely a total disregard for any attempt at controlling spending in this city. What he does is marches in his minions to talk about, we don't pay it. People are laughing at us. We should pay more taxes. Well, you know, I know a woman who gets $849 a month from Social Security. She's in her 90s. She has a small cottage that she's barely hanging on to. She has 2 daughters that help her. She'd like to stay in her home. And I think it is inexcusable for somebody like Kenny Fiola to go up there and forget that we have people like this living in the city of Fall River.
Well, the mayor's done that. The mayor said it perfectly clearly. I mean, he made it perfectly clear to everyone. There's no program for seniors, no free bags for seniors, no free bags or reduced price bags for low-income people because they can afford to pay it. I mean, this is the way it is. You know, you don't like it? Move.
Well, yeah, well, well, if you don't like it, throw your bags everywhere in the city. That's it, and that's what's going to happen because the fact is, you know, there's no consideration for the people in this city by this administration. They're going to knock on your door and fine you out of the gate. Listen, I don't know what Fall River you live in, but the average education level in this city is well below the state average. So we're dealing with a city where people are going to have a difficult time understanding this issue. And it says in this article that Trash Zero is going to educate the public. Well, it's already June, and this is going into effect in August. We need a lot of education in this community, and we need a lot of transition time. There shouldn't be fines right out of the gate. There should be warnings, and this way people can understand what they've done wrong. There should be some special dispensation for people who can't afford this, and we don't have that because the bottom line is they don't give a crap about you and the burden they put on you. They take their money and they go to Rhode Island and they go to the Capitol Grill and they have dinner and they spend more time out of this community than they do in. Every time I walk into City Hall, I see someone who was hired and is now making $81,000 when people from Fall River who graduate from law school work as an assistant DA and get about $38,000. And I see the Rhode Island plates on the vehicle that she drives to work every day. Go down to the City Hall and look at the Volkswagen Bug with the Rhode Island plates. And think about how much of the $81,000 that she makes she spends in the city of Fall River. Think about how many bags she's going to buy. Think of how much tax she's going to pay. And then call the mayor and tell him we're sick and tired of it.
You know, these bags are a big statement. And, you know, the next city council meeting will be on, I believe, the 10th. And with the next city council meeting being the 10th, this would be a statement that you can make. Wear a trash bag into City Hall. Put messages on it. Bring signs. Let the city know you don't believe in pay as you throw. And if you're going to be one of those people that goes to ABC or another private disposal company, bring in a sign saying you're going to a private disposal company. If you want, put their name on it. As I said, I've already spoken to one, and property owners are calling so often about getting contracts that they can't keep up with them. So that's already telling me that there's probably more than 10% of the property owners asking for that change. And when you start looking at the fact that our school department is going to have to pay as you throw, and again, I'm going to quote Ken Pacheco, they can bid out that contract, but I can guarantee that I will undercut that bid. Now, my question is this. Mr. Pacheco, your rate is pretty much set at $2 a bag. Because I doubt the city school department is going to use the little 8-gallon bags unless they're going to put them in each classroom. So how can you bid any lower than that? The price is set. Why? Are there lower rates for people who buy mass quantities of bags? I mean, do we go out and buy them by the case instead of one at a time, or I should say 10 at a time? I would like to know that, because maybe that's a good idea for property owners to just go out and buy a gross amount and save some money and sell them to their tenants. But you can't underbid another company when your price is fixed, because all they're going to do is look at how much trash it's going to be and do the calculations. 30-gallon bag times 3 plus one 8-gallon bag is 96 gallons. Guess what? All done. Actually, it's 98 gallons. So guess what? It's all done. It's done. That's $27 per bin for the city. You can't bid it lower than that.
Well, you know, we have a serious problem because the fact is they're creating another financial hardship on every department in the city because they're being required to pay as you throw, which means that a company outside the city is making a profit on every bag, and they have to deal with it. You know, the reality is that every single department in this city should actually go to a private contractor. Because just think about the fire department. Go by a fire station on trash day. See how many barrels they have up there. You got to remember, they have 4 shifts of men living there 24/7, around the clock, every single day, eating 3 meals a day, creating trash. I think there's 7 or 8 or 9 barrels just with trash without the recycles at the station nearest my house, and that's normal. There are a lot of people living there. I mean, that is a residence. You know, these people are there 24/7, 365 a year. So we're going to pay that company all that money when we could actually save money. And you know, if I was running the fire department now, I would contract out, just as the director, Kenny Pacheco, said. I think the school department should contract out. And I think, unfortunately, my co-host CJ is right. I think this program could work if it was administered by anybody else but Will Flanagan and his crew. Because if we did this the right way and we're consumer sensitive and tried to do this, I think the people would embrace it. But the fact is, again, we have Gestapo tactics. We're going to have people banging on the doors. We're being threatened with fines. And we're being told that the city will collapse if we don't get this pay as you throw. Well, maybe the city should collapse. At a meeting a few days ago, I had one individual say, you know, we keep calling for an audit. Maybe we shouldn't, because if they really do find out how they're wasting our money, maybe we'll go into receivership. And if that's the case, all the collective bargaining agreements will be null and void. Well, you know something? Maybe if we start from zero again, it's not that bad a thing.
Well, you know, it's funny because that also came up when I did Neighborhood News, because John was talking about how everything in this city is by the squeaky wheel, which is true. The neighborhood group starts screaming, they get what they want. Then the fire department starts screaming, they get what they want. No offense, Chip.
None taken.
The police department starts screaming, they get what they want. Community maintenance starts screaming, they get what they want. Well, the problem is everybody wants a piece of the pie, but there's nothing left of the pie.
Well, you know, and that's a true statement. And this is why, you know, it wasn't always like this. It wasn't always like this. I remember when this city had $12 million in a reserve fund, and I had to fight tooth and nail to get a pay raise because the mayor of the city wanted to keep money in the fund, wanted to ensure that the city was on stable financial footing, and no matter how much you complained, you had to really prove your case to get anything. And you could scream and yell all you wanted, but the people would say, hey, we're trying to keep our budget in line. I remember a day in bygone years where every politician was afraid to vote for a tax increase, was afraid to increase unless there was a very justifiable reason. And the fact is that if there's one thing we should be throwing in the trash, it's every city councilor that votes for this budget, this sham of a budget, and our mayor. In the next election, we should clean house.
We really should. And it's very interesting to see because if you remember correctly, back in December, when Sean Kadim was fired, his statements were that this budget is sustainable. The school department budget wasn't sustainable, but our budget was. Yet we're finding out now that it wasn't sustainable. Yet, two city councilors, Linda Pereira and Ray Mitchell, went and met with Sean Kadim over lunch over the weekend and looked over our proposed budget. So the question is, how wrong could Sean Kadim really have been? Or was he just touting the mayor's mantra? Because again, he works for the mayor, just like Kathy Ann does. And are there, worth as people just dissipates because they will lie and cheat because the mayor says, do it or you're fired?
Well, that's a really, really good question to think about because, if you're the city administrator, you do work at the pleasure of the mayor. But the fact is, you have a greater duty. You have a fiduciary duty to the city of Fall River and its citizens. You have a fiduciary responsibility to say and do the right thing when it comes to the fiscal condition of this city, and if you don't, that actually constitutes malfeasance, which is a criminal offense.
But our Attorney General won't address that. So, but one last statement here on this is that, Kathy Ann, I've got to give you credit. You became mayor without being elected, so you did a really good job there. And with that, I'd like to thank you for watching Spindle City Straight Talk. It's going to get more interesting as the shows go on because we're going to be tearing the budget apart in our next show. Thanks for watching, and please keep the comments coming and the tips. We want to hear from you.
Wear your bags.